Welcome to Zoe Stories. My ex's challenge left me living as her new girlfriend. The story begins by introducing David, a seemingly ordinary guy with a hidden secret. He's an avid crossdresser. He's not someone who outwardly expresses this part of himself, largely due to fear of judgment from his social circle and his own deep-rooted insecurities. But David's interest in dressing as a woman isn't something that simply started overnight. It's a part of him that has evolved over the years, stemming from a deep curiosity about gender expression, identity, and a desire to experience life from a different perspective. David works in corporate marketing for a fast-paced company. His job requires him to stay professional, yet the soul-crushing monotony of his career leaves him with little room to explore his passions. His office life is, in his own words, a cage, dull, predictable, and mundane. But on his own time, David is anything but ordinary. When he gets home from work, he transforms into someone else, someone more confident, powerful, and free. It's a quiet rebellion, a private world where he can wear the clothes he desires and experience the emotions that have eluded him in his everyday life. The setting is David's apartment, a modest but cozy space located in the heart of the city. The apartment has become his sanctuary, a place where he can experiment with makeup, clothing, and wigs in peace. There's a certain rhythm to his life here, work during the day and transformation at night. David finds solace in this routine, although it often leaves him feeling conflicted, torn between the two versions of himself. His apartment, though small, is filled with beautiful yet hidden details, makeup kits tucked away in drawers, a few dresses in the closet, and an old, full-length mirror, his only confidant in this world of secrets. Despite the quiet charm of the apartment, it's not always safe. The fear of being discovered lingers constantly in the back of David's mind. The idea of someone, especially Emma, his ex-girlfriend, finding out about his secret life terrifies him. She was the one person who almost knew everything, and yet there were parts of him he kept locked away. David and Emma had been together for several years. They met in college, both ambitious and eager to build their lives, unaware of the complexities they would eventually face in their relationship. Over time, however, their connection began to falter. David, hiding his secret passion, started pulling away emotionally, and Emma, feeling disconnected, ultimately ended the relationship. The breakup was messy. Emma, once a loving partner, grew distant, believing that David wasn't as committed to their future together as she was. Yet, there had always been a level of understanding between them. Emma knew David had his quirks, and despite the occasional arguments, she didn't pry too deeply into his personal life. The trust that had once held them together had slowly been eroded, leaving both of them emotionally wounded, but still somewhat bonded by their shared history. Enter the challenge, a challenge that Emma, in an unexpected twist, gives David after their breakup. After months of silence and reflection, Emma contacts David out of the blue. She proposes an absurd idea. David must agree to live as her girlfriend for an entire weekend. At first, David thinks it's a joke. Emma, always the prankster, can't possibly be serious. But when he realizes she's not kidding, a mixture of emotions floods his chest: fear, excitement, and something else, a nagging curiosity. David agrees to the challenge, seeing it as a way to confront his hidden identity, but he doesn't anticipate how this weekend will alter the course of his life forever. He doesn't know yet that Emma's intentions are far more complicated than a simple dare. There's an undercurrent of something darker, a power play, a test, perhaps even revenge, for David had never fully opened up to Emma about his secret life. As the weekend draws closer, David's anxiety builds. What should have been a fun and lighthearted challenge quickly becomes a matter of personal pride and hidden emotions. He questions if he's doing this for the thrill, for Emma's approval, or simply to feel something different, something that's always been missing. Will he face the challenge head-on, embracing this transformation? Or will the weight of a secret and the fear of Emma's judgment become too much to bear? As the challenge weekend approaches, David finds himself caught between the allure of his hidden desires and the overwhelming fear of being exposed. His emotions are a tangled mess. On one hand, He's thrilled by the prospect of living as Emma's girlfriend. This is an opportunity to step fully into the person he's kept buried for years. The idea of wearing a dress, putting on makeup, and slipping into a pair of heels isn't just exciting, it's almost liberating. But on the other hand, David is terrified. He hasn't let anyone truly see him for who he is, and the thought of Emma witnessing his transformation is both exhilarating and crushing. There are moments of doubt where David almost backs out. What if he's not convincing enough? What if Emma sees through the facade? Worse yet, what if she judges him, even more than she already has? There's a deep-rooted shame he can't shake. As much as he yearns to live as his true self, the fear of rejection looms large. He wonders if he's doing this for the right reasons, or if it's just an attempt to win Emma back, something he can never fully admit. Through these internal struggles, the reader is brought into David's world, a place where he's torn between his genuine self and the image of a man he feels he has to be. The tension within him becomes palpable, and his need to hide the truth from others intensifies. Every step he takes toward his transformation feels like a risk, a gamble on something he might lose forever. The night before the challenge, David decides to begin his transformation. The sense of anticipation is electric as he opens his closet and pulls out the carefully hidden dresses, the high heels, the makeup he's used in secret. The act of dressing up is ritualistic for David. Each piece of clothing represents a different part of his personality, a side of him he's only ever shared with himself. He starts with the underwear, a lacy set that feels foreign yet familiar against his skin. There's a moment of self-consciousness as he glances at himself in the mirror, unsure of what he's seeing. It's strange, yet thrilling. His body feels both alien and strangely right in the soft fabrics, the curves he never imagined he could have. The dress he picks is a deep red, a color that symbolizes both passion and danger. As he slides into it, the fabric clings to his form, making him feel powerful yet vulnerable. There's a rush of excitement as he feels his reflection begin to change, as if the person he's always wanted to be is beginning to take shape. Next comes the makeup. It's the first time he's done his full face of makeup for someone other than himself. The foundation smooths over his skin, the mascara accentuates his eyes, and the lipstick, deep and bold, completes the transformation. He stands before the mirror, taking in his appearance, almost not recognizing himself. But there's also a sense of relief. He feels more like the person he's always been inside, the one he's hidden from the world. Finally, he puts on the heels, high and delicate, like a delicate piece of art. The way they change his posture, and the way he moves feels surreal. Each step feels new, like he's learning to walk again, but with more grace, more confidence. There's an emotional thrill in the act of walking in heels, the sense that he's embracing a part of himself that had been dormant for too long. David admires himself in the mirror for a long moment. He's beautiful, and for the first time, he feels truly seen. But the self-affirmation is bittersweet. He's not just becoming someone else, he's also becoming someone he's tried to ignore for so long. This transformation, while exhilarating, feels like a betrayal of his old self. The next day, as David prepares for the weekend with Emma, he receives a text from her. "I'll be there around 5 p.m., don't disappoint me." The challenge has begun. With the deadline set, David's heart races. This isn't just about dressing up anymore. It's about convincing Emma that he is her new girlfriend, someone who looks and acts the part. David spends the entire day in a nervous daze, double-checking every detail, trying to make sure everything is perfect. The apartment feels oppressive as he contemplates what will happen if he fails. Emma's words haunt him. "Don't disappoint me." As 5 p.m. nears, the stakes become clear. If he fails, if Emma sees through his disguise, the consequences could be devastating. He might lose her forever, or worse, he might lose his own self-respect. The sound of a car pulling up outside sends his heart into overdrive. Emma is here. His pulse quickens as he adjusts his dress, checks his makeup one last time, and takes a deep breath. Is he ready for this? The doorbell rings. David opens the door to find Emma standing there, looking as stunning as ever. Her presence is commanding, yet there's something more dangerous about her now. She's dressed casually, but her eyes, sharp and calculating, tell a different story. She's ready for this challenge, but is David? Emma steps inside without saying much, giving him a slow once-over. David feels exposed under her gaze. His heart thuds in his chest, and every movement feels exaggerated, like he's trying too hard. But Emma doesn't say anything immediately. She seems pleased, maybe even impressed, but her silence only amplifies the tension. She gestures toward the living room and asks, "Well, let's see how you do. Are you ready to be my girlfriend for the weekend?" David swallows hard, his throat dry. The challenge is on, but he knows this isn't just about winning a bet. It's about survival, keeping a secret, maintaining the charade, and hoping that this weekend doesn't destroy him completely. After Emma's initial observation, she instructs David to follow her into the living room. The tension is thick as she sits down, assessing him once again. David tries to breathe through the nerves, feeling as though his heart might pound out of his chest. Emma looks at him with a small smirk, almost as if she's enjoying the power she holds over him. "All right," she says, her voice smooth but with an edge of challenge. "Let's start simple. I want to see how well you can pass as my girlfriend tonight. Can you handle it?" David's throat tightens. The pressure mounts. He nods, trying to appear confident, but inside, the panic is growing. He's walking a fine line. If he falters in even the smallest way, if he acts out of place, it could all come crashing down. Emma motions for him to sit next to her on the couch, and David hesitates for a moment. As he does, he notices the way her eyes never leave him, studying his every move. This is no longer a harmless challenge. It feels like a game of dominance and submission. He feels small, vulnerable, but also strangely empowered by the role he's now playing. "Let's see how good you are at this," Emma says softly, her tone teasing yet commanding. She leans closer, placing her hand on his knee and giving him a gentle squeeze. The touch sends an electric shock through David's body, intensifying the rush of emotions. His mind races. What does she want? What will she think of me now? David's pulse quickens as Emma moves even closer. The scent of her perfume fills his senses, and for a brief moment, he feels like he's truly living in this persona, in this life that he's imagined but never fully embraced. His transformation has taken root, and he feels alive in ways he never expected. But the weight of the situation crashes back in, and he realizes that Emma might be testing him more than he thought. The real test is yet to come. Just as the situation begins to take a more intimate turn, the doorbell rings. Emma pauses, her expression unreadable, and David's heart stops. Who could this be? His stomach churns as he wonders if this unexpected interruption is a sign of something going wrong. He's not ready for anyone else to see him like this, especially not anyone who might know him as the man he once was. Emma raises an eyebrow and glances at David with a hint of amusement in her eyes. "A little early for company, don't you think?" she says with a teasing smile, but there's an undercurrent of seriousness beneath her tone. "I'll handle this. Stay put." David watches as Emma walks toward the door, leaving him in the living room alone. He feels a pang of anxiety. This is the moment that could undo everything. The uncertainty of the situation starts to gnaw at him. The idea of someone seeing him in this state is unbearable. What if they figure out his secret? What if they tell Emma the truth? The door opens, and David hears Emma's voice, though he can't make out the words. His mind is spinning, and the minutes stretch into eternity as he waits. He's trapped in this precarious situation, his identity hanging by a thread. The voice on the other side of the door is unfamiliar, but the tone is sharp. Whoever this person is, they sound serious. David's anxiety spikes, his mind racing with all the worst-case scenarios. Will they see through him? Will they blow his cover? Emma returns moments later, her expression now more intense, her eyes narrowed. She closes the door behind her with a soft click, her gaze locking onto David as she walks back into the living room. There's something different about her now, an edge in her demeanor that wasn't there before. "That was unexpected," Emma says, her voice cold. And for the first time, David feels the weight of something more than just the challenge. There's suspicion in her eyes, and David can sense it. Something is wrong. Who was it? David asks, trying to sound casual, but his voice betrays him, a little too shaky for comfort. Just someone I know, Emma replies, but her tone suggests there's more to the story. She crosses her arms, leaning back slightly, a silent challenge hanging between them. You didn't expect company, did you? David's heart sinks. Did she already figure me out? He wonders if his nervousness was too obvious. Had he given himself away? His mind races, trying to think of an excuse, a way out, but the pressure is mounting. This is the test he feared most. Emma's sharp gaze softens for a moment, but only just. You're doing well, David, but I can see the cracks. You can't keep hiding who you really are. I already know more than you think. David freezes. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. His secret, his identity, his fears, all of it is laid bare. Emma knows, or at least she suspects. Emma stands up and walks toward him slowly. She takes her time, her heels clicking against the floor with each step. As she nears David, her fingers brush the fabric of his dress, almost as if she's testing him, confirming her suspicions. Her touch is light but deliberate. David's heart is pounding in his chest as he feels the weight of the moment. His worst fear is coming true. But then, as Emma's fingers graze his dress, something unexpected happens. The strap slips off his shoulder. In that split second, the dress shifts, exposing more than just his body. It feels like the last thread of his carefully constructed facade is unraveling. Emma's eyes lock onto the exposed strap, and for a moment, everything goes still. The silence is deafening, and David can feel his face flush with heat. His mind races for a way to explain, to salvage the situation, but the words stick in his throat. The weight of the moment is too much. Emma tilts her head, her gaze unwavering. So, this is what you've been hiding from me, huh? Before David can respond, Emma smiles. It's not the smile of someone who's angry or disappointed. It's something else entirely. There's a mischievous gleam in her eyes, a sense of control, but also something more playful. She steps back, her smile widening. You know, she says, I think you're more than ready to be my girlfriend. But now, I want to see if you're ready for something else. Can you keep up the act all weekend long? Can you live as me? No turning back? David's stomach flips. This wasn't just a challenge anymore. This was a game of dominance and control. He could no longer hide behind the facade of a simple bet. Emma had turned the tables, and now he had to decide how far he was willing to go, how far he could go, without losing everything. The weekend had arrived, and Emma's challenge wasn't just a passing moment anymore. It had morphed into something more intense, more personal, and far more dangerous than David could have imagined. As much as he had tried to convince himself that he was in control, he realized with every passing hour that the power was slipping from his hands. Every decision, every gesture, was scrutinized under Emma's watchful eye, and the lines between David and his new persona, the girlfriend Emma had crafted for him, were blurring. By now, David had gotten used to the routine. The high heels, the makeup, the dresses, it had all become a second skin. But this challenge, this life that Emma had drawn him into, was no longer something he could just try on. It was consuming him in ways he hadn't anticipated. The deeper he fell into the role, the less he recognized himself in the mirror. Was he still David, or had he become someone else entirely? The question gnawed at him throughout the weekend. He had tried to keep his distance, to pull back, but Emma had a way of pulling him deeper, of making him feel both empowered and powerless all at once. Now, sitting at the dinner table, the weight of the situation was unbearable. Emma had arranged a quiet dinner, just the two of them. It was supposed to be a moment of calm, a way to end the challenge. At least, that's what David thought. But as Emma handed him a glass of wine, her eyes were full of something darker, something that sent a chill through his spine. Do you think you've proven yourself yet? Emma's voice was light, but there was an edge to it. You've done well, David, or should I say, my perfect girlfriend. But there's still one last thing. David's stomach twisted. He could feel the floor beneath him slipping away. What do you mean? Emma smiled, that knowing smile of hers that always made David's heart race with both excitement and fear. She leaned back in her chair, her fingers idly tracing the stem of her wine glass. One last test. You've done everything I asked, but now I need to see if you can really handle being my girlfriend in every way. I want to see if you're ready for the world to know. David's heart pounded in his chest. The world. His voice cracked slightly, betraying his panic. Yes, Emma said, her gaze never leaving his. Tomorrow night. There's a party at my friend's place. It's an open invite, and I've already told everyone I'd be bringing my girlfriend. So, I hope you're ready to face everyone as who you've become. David's breath hitched. This wasn't just a challenge anymore. It was a forced immersion into a world he had never intended to step into. The thought of facing her friends, people who might know him as David, as the man he used to be, was terrifying. He hadn't even fully accepted his transformation, and now, Emma was pushing him into a public spectacle. There was no turning back. Do you think you can keep up the act in front of everyone? Emma's question was like a challenge, an unspoken dare. Do you think you can truly live this life, or is it just a fantasy for you? David's mind raced. He couldn't back out now, he'd come this far, hadn't he? But the pressure, the fear of being exposed, was suffocating. What if they see through me? What if someone recognizes me? What if Emma sees me as a joke after this? His thoughts were a chaotic swirl of anxiety, self-doubt, and desperation. Emma stood up, walking toward him slowly. She stopped just in front of him, her face only inches from his. Tomorrow night, David. You'll be my girlfriend. Not just for me, not just for you, for the world to see. Her words were firm, final, and David could no longer deny the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just a test of his appearance. This was a test of his identity, his self-worth. If he failed, if he faltered, it would be more than just the end of a bet. It would be the end of the person he once was. The end of David. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound in the room was the distant hum of traffic outside. David's heart raced in his chest, and Emma's eyes never left his, a silent challenge lingering between them. The air was thick with tension. And then, with a soft exhale, Emma spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. I hope you're ready for this. Because if you're not, it'll be the end of everything. For both of us. David opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. He was paralyzed by fear, by the weight of the choice that lay before him. To accept this transformation fully, to embrace this new identity, and the risk of losing everything he had known, or to walk away, knowing that he would lose Emma and perhaps himself. Just as David was about to speak, the sharp knock on the door shattered the silence. His heart skipped a beat, and for a split second, he thought he might pass out from the intensity of the moment. Emma's eyes flickered to the door, and then back to David. There was a flicker of something in her gaze, curiosity, anticipation. She motioned for him to stay seated. Go ahead and answer it, she said with a casual, almost nonchalant tone, though the underlying tension was unmistakable. David stood up, his legs shaky, and walked toward the door. His hand trembled as he reached for the handle. The air felt thick around him, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for whatever came next. He opened the door, and there, standing in the doorway, was someone David had not expected to see. It was someone from his past. Someone who knew David, the real David, and someone who was about to complicate everything. Someone who could destroy the carefully constructed life he had built in Emma's world. As David stood frozen in the doorway, the weight of the moment hit him with full force. What would happen next? Would he be able to hold on to the life he had started to build? Or was this the end of everything he knew? The door slowly closed behind him, leaving Emma's questioning eyes and the stranger in the doorway to loom over his future. His identity was on the verge of being shattered, and the fate of his new life was hanging by a thread. What would David do now? Leave your predictions below in the comments. What do you think will happen next? Will David's past come back to haunt him, or will he embrace his new life with Emma? Tune in next week to find out.